Good morning, everyone, or whatever time of the day or evening it is for you. I'm so happy to be here, and thank you so much for the invitation. All of you who have created this for us. I so believe in the power of women getting together and telling stories, and my heart's already full from what I've been hearing this morning. And it's true. I started pushing for rights for women in my late teens. I'm 72 now, and and what I've had to learn over the years is to transform this growing fury at the false promises that we've been handed for more than a half a century at this point. That we just have to be patient when what we know, because we have social media now, we're able to tap into what's happening around the world and what's happening individually in all of our lives, is the ongoing situation in which women and girls are still being violated in uncountable ways, and still not, even for the most part in this world, able to access basic human rights, like the right to choose what we want to do with our lives, and the right to go to school, and the right not to be violated in the home, and the right to have a safe place if we have to leave home, and the right to walk in the street and get to where we're trying to go. So um, I had to kind of chuckle inside. I don't know if it's the brilliance of the pattern of who speaks after who, but I absolutely agree with the speaker before that we have to be able to say no and do self-care. We talk about that a lot within World Pulse, but I'm hoping that by the time I finish, every one of you is going to say yes and join this global women's movement, because as painful as it is to carry what we know, it's absolutely amazing what is happening, because it is true. We are, it's on our site, it says 70,000 from 190 countries, women. And actually it's open to everyone. There's some far out men who get it and who are doing some important work too, but it's women led, and we are connecting globally because of social media. We're in contact with each other. I'm going to describe how that works, but I also just want to mention that one of the biggest things that we're up against as women is that we continue to be silenced, and that it takes a great amount of strength to continue talking when you're put down for what you're saying, you're discounted for what you're saying as being, for instance, um, a radical feminist, which I proudly claim to be and have been. And I say radical because radical means to the roots. Radical doesn't mean a few women get nice positions in some jobs and then that's it. Radical means that we're out to change the world. And these are the women who I'm meeting on World Pulse, grassroots women, grassroots feminists who are going into communities and meeting women and lifting women and bringing them into World Pulse to tell their stories. The entire site is built on the stories of women, for what has happened to them, what's happened to us in our lives, what's happening in our communities, and what we're doing about it. And it's brilliant. I found it about, well, it was 2012. I think I said. I think it 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 was as simple as this. Somebody said to me, "I think you might be interested in this." A friend of mine handed me the site, and I was just learning how to get on a computer, and I was astounded, because there it was, all built on women's stories, the stories that never get into newspapers. So um, we have been documenting within this site every single thing that needs to change. And I'm going to read you 3 poems. One, because one of the ways that I that I transform my fury into action is just put it into a poem. And the other um, the other thing that happened when I joined World Pulse was to be invited to be an encourager. Uh, and I thought, well, what is that? And an encourager is someone who offers time to respond to some of the stories. It's basically just if you can respond to 10 stories a month, that's an encourager. I can't wait to clear hours to get to read these stories because it's so empowering to read what these women are accomplishing. And then to find, from there, we have a private message system. We're connecting with each other. We're Zooming with each other. Once a week, those of us who are ambassadors Zoom from 40, 50 countries every Thursday morning to see where we're at and to figure out how to make this happen. So it's deeply painful because of what we know and what we carry, but you're constantly reminding each other to take care of ourselves. And we're just full of joy. We're so incredibly full of joy that this is true. We have each other now. We know each other. We're sisters. There are also other large women's organizations. And I think that when we get all of the individuals and all of the organizations together more powerfully, we really are in a position to move forward in a way that we did not even imagine in the 60s. Well, deep down we hoped. But let me read you this first poem because it has all of the, it's a tough poem. The other two are more joyful. This one is tough, but I want you to hear it because it is the nutshell of everything painful in here that you hear, the issues that are being worked on. Just think of it that there are powerful grassroots women already working on these, and that's how I even created this list. And it's called Until. Until girls are not killed at birth for being girls, until we're welcomed for the gifts that we are, until every girl goes to school, no more attacks from uncles, brothers, cousins, fathers, grandfathers, strangers, no more keeping us indoors, no more forced marriages, no more selling, no more indentured labor, no more telling us what to wear, until there's no more violence, no more beating up, no more rape, until there's no more acid thrown in faces, no more honor killings, no more cutting, no more girls screaming in pain, until no more hot rocks are pushed against budding breasts, no more breast ironing by mothers out of fear for their daughters becoming women, until we are cherished, respected, safe from the fear that some man will rape us, will rape her, without fear that I will, that she will, that they will disappear tomorrow and be discovered dead in a river, in a barn, in a brothel somewhere far away from home or in her home, until womanhood is held sacred and every girl has what she needs when she bleeds, until untouchable is a word of the past and seclusion is always chosen, never forced. And until old women are free from forced mourning in mourning huts, until no woman loses her home and land when a husband dies, until no woman is forced to marry his brother or lead a secluded life or a life in the street, or pushed into a ditch to die in a fire labeled a witch, until women live freely and safely with dignity, until there's no more ridiculing of young single mothers, scathing rebukes for loving without knowledge, for birthing without healthcare, for mothering without community, until girls do not disappear into slavery, until there's no more pornography, no more taunting of words and grabbing and threats for being alone on a walk, for being alone on the way to school, on the way to work, on the way to friends, on the way to meet a lover, on the way to read a book in the park, on the way to drive a car, on the way to do whatever we want with our days, our evenings, and our nights, until we have the time and liberty to write and speak and meet, until all women speakers and journalists in jails are free, until we're not held captive and tortured for speaking the same words as these, until our words are free and heard, until this world built on violence and corruption, selfish and squandering, money hoarded offshore is brought back to the communities it's stolen from, distributed to the people who mined those mines, the farmers who fed their communities, the schools, the hospitals, until poverty is ended, medicine available, until people and animals are not dying from chemicals in our land and water and endless wars over wealth, while we witness the ruination of our magnificent earth, until the truth of what women have done and do is known, until our wisdom and beauty is understood, until women emerge from these lives imprisoned and controlled, this containing of our spirits, the forced silence of our graves, until every girl grows up strong and free, her opinions heard, and until we have the time and space and liberty to write and speak and meet, until we form new leadership in this world, until the brilliance of our leadership soars, our writing of history, the truth of the past, the truth of now, the emergence of visionary ideas connected with each other globally, celebrating each step forward until every woman lives free, and then until. And those are coming directly from the stories that I've had on World Pulse, the stories that I've read, and as an encourager, I respond, we respond, we respond to each other. It becomes a conversation, and then we're finding out what we can do for each other. It's I truly hope that you'll look into it, because it's the news that just isn't covered, and that's one of the things we're working on. So there's so many ways that all of the brilliance that I'm already detecting in this room, if you know somebody who will interview someone in the middle of this war in Cameroon, for instance, we can put those sisters who have a women's peace group across the divisions of these war, we can put them their news forward, and hopefully end the 85 wars in this country that women are living through. You know the situation, but what I'm trying to encourage you to do is jump into this global sisterhood, because it's there, we have it now. So I know that there are lots of speakers waiting to speak. I do, just after that really tough poem, I want to read to you what I wrote to these global sisters when I met them. And it's called Love Poem to Global Sisters. Sisters, it's also a love poem to all of you. Far away, deep in my heart, I call out your names in joy. I carry your stories and how we have met. This is a new ecstasy. Now now that this ancient dream is coming true, this dream that we carried before we were born, we are finally meeting each other in this lifetime. Now I've met you. I know where you are. I know who you are. I've read from you what you have to say. I've read from you what we can do across barriers of time and distance in which we've always known that each other was there. And now stories and photos of your beautiful faces and the faces of all those girls and women that you are holding in your loving arms, your voices carry across the oceans. I call out your names. I hear you singing and dancing together until every woman is heard, and we sing back and drum and dance from here, the same ancient dance. We are here to do this, and in this lifetime, we're finally meeting each other. So I wrote that, one of the first things I wrote back, because you can also put your story on there. Let everybody know what you have been through, the messages that you've been saying today. It's like I'm in World Pulse right now with all of you. So that's what I'm just so grateful to be able to tell you about, because it has transformed me. This is my home base now. This, in 1969, when we had a little women's center with 7 or 8 of us, and we had a room for women to come and talk, and I've met with women individually and in groups, and small, large, and now we are here in a global sisterhood, reaching out to the world and inviting you in. Worldpulse.com.
Thank you, Tim. Wow. Your poems are really beautiful. Thank you. Where are you physically located now?
I'm in Montreal.
Ah,
Montreal, yeah. Although I've also lived in Ottawa, Vancouver, the States for a little while. I've traveled through North Africa and India and Europe and a few places.
yeah, I can
Yeah.
see some of the souvenirs from your trips abroad behind you, I think.
Well, yeah. Well, those were when I was quite a bit younger before I found World Pulse. I would love to do one more journey, but and get to meet a lot of us have met in person because some of these women have been invited over to Nova Scotia to an international training or New York, and then so take a bus out of New York. Let's go camping for 4 days. So we do get to meet, but it's like we're meeting in person when we make that extra connection online too.
Have you published any of your poetry?
Well, I've got it's a self-published love poem to daring sisters.
Oh, I
Love poem for daring women. Get in touch with me. I'll send it to you. All of the proceeds go to my global sisters. We're keeping girls in school. And what's happening with women in COVID, all of the reports coming in, the heavy lifting of this world is being done by women and no new funding is coming. In Canada, only 5% of women even try to go to court because of the way they're treated. And the beds in shelters have decreased during COVID. This patriarchal hold is really serious and it's showing its true colors right now
wow.
because these women, instead, when the schools closed in Uganda, the women who were working to put girls in school were taking rice and beans to the local area where nobody had even been told COVID existed.
Hmm.
They're not even getting funded for their work. It's a disgrace how women are being treated because it depends on women working for no money.
Yeah,
And we have to change that.
absolutely.
I'm continually transforming fury, transforming fury.
Yeah, yeah. Well, I can see that. And I see that Tamarack Verrall is on Facebook. Is that a good way for us to get in touch with you?
Yes, Facebook, definitely. And also join World Pulse and send me a message through there, but not LinkedIn. I got hacked badly by LinkedIn yesterday, and I'm just when I can untangle myself from that. I'm afraid I'm not going to have to be. I'm not going to go back. It's been
Okay.
a horrible 24 hours of that. But yes, be in touch, and I'll put my yes. There's World Pulse. Thank you.